Hi, I'm Scott Campbell with Solve 3D.
And I'm Kevin Miller at Solve 3D.
Kevin, now that we know how to adjust what we're looking at inside a project, how do I move around to different places inside the project?
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is a 360-degree panoramic with some point cloud. I can simply move around just by dragging my mouse and left clicking and dragging it around, just like you would do in Google Street View. I can also move around by clicking on these little arrows on the ground. As you hover around, you can see my mouse cursor is now an arrow pointing in the direction that I would travel if I clicked. So if I click right now, I start driving down the road essentially.
So that's very much like Google Street View. So I'm assuming every location is like a place where a picture was taken or something like that?
That's correct. As the truck was driving down the road collecting data, it's taking pictures every 5 meters, 10 meters, whatever the operator has set it to. And that's the location that I'm viewing when I click down the road here. Additionally, on the top left side in our aerial view, you might notice these little gray circles. Some of them have numbers, some of them are just circles by themselves. These numbers and circles are locations where those cameras were taken. And if you see numbers, that's an indication of how many cameras might be in that location if there's some overlap or multiple pictures taken at the same time. If you don't see these camera circles, you can go into settings and turn on the map markers just by toggling them on and off here. You can see them disappearing and reappearing. And if you don't like the arrow view, some people prefer some other views, or you just want to see where these camera markers are in the 3D view, you can, in the scene view settings, switch the marker type from arrows to spheres. And that's where you can actually see a little circle in the 3D view. And as well, I can click on them and navigate around them that way.
Yeah, so that's
Uh,
pretty easy,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to talk a little bit about some of the more complex navigation modes. If you don't like being locked to the road and you want to maybe see something from a different point of view, I can always right click and enter what we call 3D mode. If you don't want to right click, you can also access this from the settings window, this little toggle in the called 3D mode under the color setting. But once you go into 3D mode, you can see it's turned off my panoramic data. So I only have point cloud and my CAD models. And I can now use my right mouse button and drag it down to pan away from the ground. Or I can pan left and right by using the same right mouse button. Or I can use my left mouse button and kind of look around by dragging it left or right or up and down. And I can also use my mouse wheel to zoom out if I'd like. So you can get a nice, bird's eye view if you want of your project. You might want to change your color settings, your point cloud visibility, just so you can see it a little better. You can navigate around. You can always double click to fly into a certain area if you want to look at something in more detail. Or you can, if I zoom out a little bit more, you can always hit space bar to enter what we call fly mode. You see in the top right, it turned on. And now I am flying throughout the screen or throughout the project, and I can still use my left mouse button to kind of navigate around, kind of like in a video game. I can also use my mouse wheel to zoom and go a little faster or slow down to a complete crawl if I'm trying to look at something in more detail. It's a good way to kind of navigate around their project in a kind of drone-like view. Additionally, I'll just exit 3D mode. If the user or the operator of the program or project administrator, sorry, if they've defined some bookmarks, you can access them on the left-hand side by clicking bookmarks. And these bookmarks are similar to the one that you might get sent in a link or, available. Maybe they've put some points of interest within the project. I can just click on one of these URLs and the system will load back to that exact same location with all the settings that the project administrator defined. So that might be a good way to just navigate around to certain points of interest or certain buildings that you might be interested in viewing. And lastly, the jump to location allows you to simply just enter a lat long or an easting northern within your project coordinates to jump to that location in your project, assuming you have data in that area.
So, to sum that up, Kevin, it's pretty simple moving around inside an Encompass project. In fact, it's a lot like Google Street View, right? You've got different locations that you can move, you can jump to in terms of camera locations. An additional benefit, of course, above Google Street View is that if you've got a LiDAR data set in your project, you can actually fly around in 3D mode off of the camera locations. So, very useful stuff. Okay, thanks. I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you.